Roll call, I'm here, Mario should be on Zoom.
Yeah.
Casey's here, Doug's here, Pat could not, is on vacation, Donna's here, Armand's here, Mike Wilson's here, John's here, Ellen's here, Dan, David, Kemp, John, Jenny, and Mike Sasso, man. Dean is here, and Glenn Berger's here, and Mike McKenna. Do you know the guy next to you, Casey? Just Casey.
We meet each other here,
Once in a
this is
while.
when we talk.
Yeah, okay. Approval of the agenda, I just have one addition, it's in your last thing of the back. It's a second invoice for the month for innovative engineering, you have it on the back of what I gave you. Have a motion just to add that invoice. So, John and Donna. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, approval of minutes that was sent out, and I have another copy here for you that I gave you. Questions, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Casey, second? Second, John, thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed, okay. Anybody from the public, so I don't have to read this? No, okay. Okay, Dan, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to start off with a little project commentary, just to give you a quick update as to what's going on in what we now consider the occupied portion of the building, areas A and B. Exterior letters were installed this month. We continue to work in the construction tech lab. I've got a team of people coming in again on Saturday to now install what is Dust Collector 2. Dust Collector 2 arrived physically in our area earlier in the week and was set up on the exterior of the building. On Saturday, we'll go inside, construct the ductwork, as well as do a little bit more electrical work in order to continue that process. On a positive note again, the second kiln, the new kiln that was purchased through the project has now arrived in Connecticut. We are scheduling for next week to install that. Punch list work is continuing through the building. And right now I have a list of, there's 45 more items that we have that are currently being worked on. I have a team coming in on Saturday to work on those. And then we are continuing next week when we have a half day and an opportunity to get into some more spaces. Continuing ahead with work that is in the occupied space in the auditorium. Over the past month, the rigging system was relocated, adjusted to avoid or to mitigate some conflicts that we had with other overhead rigging items, and the stage curtains were installed. Upcoming in the next week, we have final lighting commissioning to happen in there, and then training on the lighting system. We've already gone through a couple of trainings on the AV system, so we have a couple of more if as needed. But the work in the auditorium, we have some punch list work that we have to get done in there, but other than that, the auditorium is being utilized by the school staff on a daily basis.
I got a question on that. Who has been trained on the AV? Like how many people?
The group of people that Brian had put together for that initially included about 5 staff members. They went through an initial training back about 2.5, 3 months ago.
Because the theater person who does all the tech stuff told me he wasn't trained.
So that may be the lighting. I remember that Ed introduced me and we have a name of a person that doesn't work at the high school but works
No.
at the middle
He
school.
works at the high school.
Well, that's not us, that's
I know,
Brian.
I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
like, where, so you got the list from Brian?
Correct.
No, what we did is we set up the first initial training and offered to Brian to invite those people that he wanted to include. And they've been the same group that have gone through 3 trainings so far.
No, I don't
But
know.
that's on AV. That's not rigging, that's not curtains,
Yeah, no, but that's the audio stuff, right?
the audio,
Yeah,
audio,
well, he
video
needs to
stuff.
know that stuff too. He needs to know the audio, the lights, the rigging, all that stuff.
Do you have a staff, do you know his name?
Yeah, yeah, they can,
I'll jot it down because we're gonna
okay.
reach out to Brian and say, is this person okay?
Steve Zwart,
Steve?
yeah, Zwart.
Steve Zwart.
Because there's a spring show coming up and, they're starting to build sets, but
Yeah,
they need to know how to run the stuff and then teach the kids.
right,
'Cause that's-
absolutely.
It's all part of it.
Is that stuff on video already?
Yeah, there was a basic training and then there was an advanced training session that Brian set up and it went on for like almost the whole day. So 8 hours, so, yeah, I don't know who exactly was present there, but
No, but we have actually,
I don't have it yet. I gotta
Okay.
get from the contractor.
Did we get the first one? The initial kind of general overview of the system?
Yes, it is.
So Mike was accurate in that we've had 2 trainings, not 3 so far. I believe we have the video from the first training, the initial just general systems training. But we haven't gotten the one from the second training, which was roughly 3 weeks ago, I'd say. And that was the higher level, get into the nitty gritty. They're actually in the lighting room, the boards are there for the AV control.
Yeah.
So they've been debriefed on it. So in that auditorium, we have some punch list work again that we're doing on the weekend, and then again, doing the final light aiming and lighting commissioning. That's about it. In the occupied space, our now milestone is to continue work in the middle school. We are marching towards a June 1st finish. We've coordinated with the FF&E team, SLAM's vendor that coordinates deliveries. Initial delivery first scheduled delivery is June 17th, and that's for the media center materials to move over.
Because the books are coming from the middle school on the 24th.
Okay, so that's, the 17th is when they're setting up the shelves. Very good. And then the bulk of the product for the classroom spaces is scheduled for the week of, or the 23rd of June. That roughly runs out 3 weeks. So in the Area E and Area F buildings, right now we've finished with final painting on the second floor. We have finished with the overhead work. We inspect that work on Friday of this week, and then we roll into closing ceilings, followed by the last of the flooring. 90% of the flooring is installed in the classroom spaces. They'll come in, they'll finish that, and they'll put the base in the classrooms, and then they'll work out through the corridor. So everything rolling into place there. So I guess over the last month, it was all about lighting fixtures and finishing up all of the overhead work, labeling of the piping systems, a little bit of insulation detailing work. But that's what's happened. Our sequence goes from the second floor to the third floor and down to the first floor and out the front door. Again, marching ahead as planned. June 1st was our target finish, and we're on track to meet that date. Anything specific other than that? Millwork continues to go. The light fixtures, the nice light fixtures that sit within the grid pattern of the media center, as you may recall from the high school, have been installed in the middle school. And that's about all we're doing in E and F. Our focus is now on the abatement and demolition of your existing building. We have some photographs to share with you, as we flip through those in a moment. But the keys there is that the abatement contractor is doing well. He's ahead and now through about 40% of that structure, getting out the asbestos-containing material, or ACM. That work completed through the gym and the 2-story section of what is being renovated, then led to the select demolition process. Select demolition is not proceeding as quickly as we had on our schedule. They have been working long days and Saturdays with a crew of up to 20, 25. But there's physically not a lot of room in there to work. So we're not tracking to the completion that we had in our schedule. They've been notified, they've been put on notice because we're going to accelerate our concrete team, our site work team to follow behind them. So just that's the bad news of the day is right now we're almost 2 weeks off of the scheduled start date for excavation of the foundations for the auto shop. Not a lot of things that can be done to accelerate things at this early stage, but we're going to capture every day that we can moving forward. And then on to site work. Let's see, we have here export of the topsoil pile that we had on site. All of the site improvements, they keep removing those throughout the property. They've completed the storm system installation on what is Daily Drive as it comes up and around the old Little Theater area. And that allowed us to create a laydown area that's slightly off the construction of the driveway, the future driveway permanent, and move the materials from what were around the middle school and in the courtyard up and out of the way so that the site work contractor could then commence work within that courtyard. So he's now proceeded with the storm installation in the courtyard. He's got one more run of sanitary piping to do in that courtyard. But what he's really anxious to do is to come from where the auto shop is going to sit. That's a large excavation. He's got to grab that material and pull it into the courtyard in order to make final grade, and then we can start the process of the finishes or the curbing in that area. I go ahead in the commentary to mention that the following sessions have been coordinated. The elevator training has been done, not yet. Theatrical lighting still to be done, plumbing systems still to be done, and lab fume hoods still to be done. Those are all in the short term. And then I see, yes, we have the lighting controls, electrical systems all were trained in the last month, along with the fire protection and fire pump. So that's what we've been doing for the last month. Of course, I personally was in New Mexico for 2 weeks, so catching up myself. As of this writing, we still had 89 items on the open punch list. As of my check this morning, I do have 45 actual open items. I still have 15 disputed items. So technically, I still have 60 items on the O&G punch list. There are still a number of items in the order of 15 from the commissioning agent and another 15 from the design team. So getting down to the last 50 or so from our near 2,800 items. I'm going to speak briefly to the athletic fields just to give you guys a quick update as to where we stand. The documents went through planning and zoning review. We grabbed a hold of that version of the documents, which helped us get started on our estimating for what is the civil work and the storm work. But the complete scope of the change didn't come out until SLAM had an opportunity to work through all the details related to that site plan that you guys all saw at our last meeting. So on a positive, we're through the planning and zoning. The PR has been issued to us. We are going through it. O&G's estimating is 90%. I've got most of their figures in. I'm cross-checking quantities, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the values of those changes. But I think one of the most important things that we've done in the last 2 weeks is we've worked through a schedule to what is going to be to put the work in place. With the delivery of the multi-purpose field and the JV field closest to the cul-de-sac, we know that with an approval to commence work in earnest on April 4th, should all things go as we predict, we would have completed that portion of the work in those synthetic fields available for play by no later than 9/15. And that's in a schedule in which we start to finish. In other words, we finish one project or one task before we start another. And there's opportunity there to improve that because we overlap typically. And then on the opposite side, you have weather impacts that we don't know how bad or how many days we'll lose to a weather delay. All things looking normal to me, and personally having overseen a synthetic field before, these are generous durations, so I have confidence that you will see play, if not on September 5th, but September 10th on these fields. As far as the cost and what we're seeing on that level, so far I haven't been able to pull all the numbers together, but what I saw in the synthetic field costs from just the original and layout plans that were provided by Field Turf to what we have now, costs are not far from there. We did have a couple of scope creep or scope growth items that I'm waiting to find out what the final value is. In other words, the section underneath the field went from a smaller section to a thicker section. Some of the drainage pattern underneath the fields has been improved. That was a result of our meeting with Whitestone, who was the engineer that Gary had recommended do all these additional borings, and our civil engineer of record. We had a group meeting, made some decisions. The decision was to provide you belt and suspenders storm drainage underneath these fields, not to go 95% of the way and maybe not have a playable field in the event of a 4-day rain event, but instead to design for a worst case scenario. So there's a little bit more drainage, there's a little bit more stone underneath these fields. But again, generally, at 90% over our review, numbers are looking as if they're going to land where we expected. The PR for the fields came out. The PR to take the work out of the building has been issued. So we're going through those. I think there's a little bit more credit coming on the work that's not being installed than I previously anticipated, so that's positive. And then the last piece of the puzzle is the outbuilding. The outbuilding design is moving along. We had a discussion, Kemp and I and his team, earlier this week on a few ways to try to cut some cost out of the building, because the building is getting more expensive than we had hoped. But kind of stealing all of Kemp's thunder, I don't want to do all of that.
And we're, the meeting's in 2 weeks, right? We've got a lot of crunching to do in the next couple of weeks.
As I sent
we
the
are
email out,
we are
every
working-
day is changed.
Right, we are working very diligently. It's changing by the moment, and we know we've got a target to get to.
Right.
We've got a lot of numbers to crunch and meetings to have to make sure we've got a viable proposal for you on the 3rd to make some decisions, so it falls in our court.
That's right, and that's an important, probably the most important aspect to just put you all in line with, is that we do know our path. We have a lot of work to get done in the next 10 days. We have costs coming in early next week. We have meetings scheduled for later in the week to vet those numbers. And then we'll be preparing to provide documents that Ed can distribute to the team here ahead of our April 3rd meeting. Okay, I provided all sorts of information again there. Let's see. And so there's not much more to speak to. I mean, I've given you the bad news regarding our impact to the, what we have to do is keep the eye on the prize, right? The biggest and most important part of this project for us, and has been known to me, is that the difficulty of trying to put this piece of the puzzle into place for a September occupancy. It's going to be a tough road to hoe. I'm keeping my, our team, other than myself, is truly focused on making sure that they can put the pieces in place as rapidly as the area develops. Again, we're out there 6 days a week, 10 hours a day in order to get the existing building out of our way. There'll be some pictures to show. I think it's probably time for pictures, Mike.
Sure.
Okay.
Progress photos, and then, I got some demo photos from that.
Letters.
Yeah, no problem. So, the high school lettering was completed just a couple weeks ago. Last week, they completed the middle school. Looking at the stage, the rigging and curtains, Dan mentioned there were some conflicts that were resolved in the stage. All the rigging has since been completed. moving up into Area E. Finishes progressing, all the hard ceilings were installed, millwork contractor moved in, started doing countertops, with the plumber right behind them, installing sinks and fixtures.
And partitions are installed now, fixtures are installed now.
Just a shot of detailing up in the ceiling, some final insulation over, after the valve connections were completed. And some of the HVAC equipment and ductwork. Looking out of a science classroom, lab casework countertops complete, windowsills complete, ready for the plumber to move in, install fixtures. Ceiling installation, device installation up in the media center, as Dan mentioned. Hard to see here, those linear fixtures that go right in the grid in between the ceiling tiles. Pretty cool stuff, same thing as the high school media center. This is looking out close to 3 weeks ago, a month ago, when we first moved some of the Connex boxes out and a lot of the laydown material from the middle school parking lot area and future bus loop. This is up by our trailer, towards where the road takes a turn up towards the existing building. Storm drainage installed. That continued in front of our trailer and down back towards Daily Drive. Here's a shot from right when demo started, just all loose debris and material right out in the courtyard, ready to get hauled out. And then these are from today.
We can see through the building.
This is looking at the old main entrance. You can see over Area H, the existing gym. The roof has been 80% removed. The clear story windows have been cut in. And then the overall structure of the old, I believe it was the existing B building, or the main office and some art rooms. Hey, sorry, I don't know that well. Is gone.
Yeah, the key here is the product, the part of the project that was so critical to deliver was removal of the media center. That area was not ACM containing, so we could get rid of that portion of the building, sooner than the rest. So that building was gone, and then I've been waiting to stand in the courtyard of what will be the future bus loop and see daylight. And so actually this photo is from today. It was yesterday that moving from the media center towards the new structure, this was the first opportunity to see excavators, coming through that gap. Removal to the point where it is allows us 25 feet on what would be our east side, south side of the auto shop, which allows us to get fully around that auto shop to do the construction. So they've got to get that material out of there. They're going to have that out of there by end of day on Saturday, so that on Monday, the earth that was sitting under the media center is going to come through that hole and fill the courtyard and bring that up to elevation. As you remember from the high school, we had to bring the whole world up to meet the elevation of the school, and that's a similar condition in what will be the future bus loop.
A little bit of reference, the Torrington High School sign, that's right about where the main vestibule entry for the gymnasiums is going to be. Right where you see the clear story windows cut out is right about where the full height auto shop starts. Onto the end of the building. Standing right here is where I was standing taking this photo, is right about, probably standing in the middle of the bus loop as well.
Yeah, it's not even noticeable, but over the word Torrington, they've removed the upper 4 feet of block wall for that clear story window on both this side and the Route 8 side.
I have a question. So this, what you've ripped out so far, so how does the structure look? Because that was way back when we first started, we talked about that, ripping it out and then see what it looks like after it starts to get ripped out, the framing and stuff.
Pieces of information. So what we found is this: the masonry is unreinforced, or is what in typical construction we would always put vertical rebar and grouted cells at at typical 4-foot centers or greater if they needed more capacity. There is no reinforcing in what is remaining CMU. So we've alerted SLAM to that issue, and their structural engineer, as soon as that debris gets cleaned out of the space. They're gonna take a look at that. They're gonna take a look at, there's no physical tie between the CMU to the columns. Again, not something that's done in common practice today, but not necessarily a requirement of SLAM's design. So it's really up to their structural engineer to come out and see what they have for existing conditions and see what their assumptions were before they make any decisions as to any additional reinforcement we'd have to add. On a second thing is, everything is a bolted connection on the building. There's not a lot of welded beam to column connections or beam to beam, beam to purlin connections. So we want to have SLAM's engineering group look at those, make a determination if we need to do any third-party inspection, of checking those bolts if they need to be replaced, or if any of them need to be tightened. So far, the structure generally looks good. There's a couple of pieces to me that should be retightened or welded in the next phase. And then I guess the other piece of news is we have, not bad, but not perfect. We've discovered some new ACM as we were removing from the structure. ACM being asbestos-containing materials. Behind the chalkboards in what was the two-story section, they discovered that there's some grout products that have an asbestos content in them. How pervasive that's going to be is unknown because it wasn't behind every single one. So as we move forward, we don't quite know how many. Not a big cost item because as we move forward, we know to remove it at the same time frame as they're removing what is the known ACM adhesive. The chalkboards were all known to have glue daubs attaching them to the walls. Now we know that not only does the glue daub have to come off, but also the mortar that was behind the board has to come off. On the steel itself, there's a couple of coatings that were concealed behind the CMU, some black mastic product. That is a PCB product, not an ACM product. So that's a huge thing for us because ACM is just more expensive to deal with, and everything that is assumed PCB. So there's no change to the scope of work there, with the exception of removal on the pieces that have to remain. So a little bit technical, but the spandrel beams that run along the perimeter of the roof line have this product on the top. And so what we were going to do was weld new steel to the top of that beam flange. And now that product has to be removed in order to weld to it. Overall, these are fairly minor problems. We've actually had two more major problems related to cost on the asbestos and demolition. One is that there's inadequate water available through the fire hydrants to feed the demolition process. We take off the hose and we attach it to a hydrant. That's the way I scoped the job, and I built the contract requirements that the trade was supposed to do that. When they went to obtain the permits and provide a temporary meter to hook to a fire hydrant, Torrington Water said we have a concern over the amount of water and what that flow rate on a constant basis is going to do to our city system. So we're now trucking in water. So there's two large tanks on the property. They're called frac tanks, which means they're settlement tanks, but really they're just vessels of water. And then every few days, we have Pat's Pool Water deliver 15,000 gallons of water. So that's an order of magnitude of $25,000 over the course of the project. The other item is just a discrepancy between what we feel is scope and what the trade does not feel is scope, and that's the sandblasting of the existing CMU exterior paint. It has to be removed in order for us to build what is an air vapor barrier building. That's how we build today. And so he's proceeding under dispute, but again, the order of magnitude there is in the $20,000 range. So far, our contractor is performing to the best of his ability, and the issues have not been so severe.
I have a question, the Torrington Water Company won't fill our tanks?
They won't truck the water. They provide the water for free. So Pat's Pool Water can go down to the other part of town, pick up and fill.
No, my point is we can't fill it at a different rate to fill those tanks when needed?
Like just use a garden hose to try to fill the tank?
Well, yeah, somehow fill the tanks with a fire hose, but at least give it a couple hours to fill and when
It
you do
doesn't
need,
take a couple hours, right, so
or a day,
Overnight.
overnight.
Yeah.
overnight out of, say, having some experience in this, you're only gonna get about 3,000 gallons overnight with a garden hose in a 24-hour period. So we're going through about 15,000 gallons, almost every other day.
Well, even
Consider
even a fire hose connection within 4 hours wouldn't fill it, 6 hours wouldn't fill it.
That's
You
We
get
can't run the fire hose.
That's the problem, of the volume, they're not allowing that volume.
fully open if needed, right? Fully open if needed, the volume isn't there.
No,
They won't
I think
let
the
us use it.
volume is there.
Well, to Dean's point, we can see if we can pull half, crack the valve on a
Yeah.
hydrant and not have to buy as much water. Yeah, there's
Maintain the
actually talked about-
tank, because you need the tank for volume,
Right,
but fill it with the city water instead of paying Pat's pool,
it's slower.
it's
Right.
slower.
Yeah, we actually talked about that on Friday of last week, we'll talk about it again tomorrow to see, how viable that option is.
To reduce even if it cuts your need to truck in half,
Yeah.
that's still
Right.
better than,
Right. Yeah, the frac tanks are the majority of the cost, but every time we fill up, it's $250.
How much?
Probably 250, I don't actually have the figure.
That was one of that, yeah.
It's the time it takes a truck to do a round.
Yeah.
The truck is not the expensive part. Yeah.
There's a shot in the, looking at the gym, you're looking at towards area G, the middle school gym. You can see the rooftop units in the distance a little bit there. My back is to the two-story portion.
Question?
my question was just with these, as best the ACMs, at what point, how much have we budgeted to allow, how do you know when you're in trouble? How do you decide when you're 80% into the project? Are we tracking towards $250,000 short? Are we tracking towards, hey, we're doing pretty good, don't worry about it, guys? You're finding things, obviously, when you find them, that's great, because you can take care of them at the beginning, but what's the risk to the project for those ACMs?
So that's the better part, in that we've done 2 demolitions over the 2 summer periods, and now having gone into more space and taken out more, the exposure at this point being in the, a $20,000 unrelated item, scope buyout problem, but a 25 grand item, and we're 15% into this thing. And that's 25 grand extended to the end of the building. So I would say unless we run into something completely unforeseen in the balance of the building, you're gonna fall within a, $50,000 to $100,000 problem. I don't know, they're not my, right, it wouldn't come from the contingency that we have. It'd have to come from the owner side, unless we, made an agreement to give more back.
Do we also have to check soil underneath the building?
We went through that on the first 2 demolitions, and the environmental consultant was okay with that. And
Just
with an
reuse
assumed
it.
PCB building, he doesn't check soil.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim.
That is awesome.
Yeah, just a couple more.
I love the picture without the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a gray day, we got no clouds up there, but.
Back to the middle school gym, in the direction where the previous photo was, looking towards the two-story portion of area H. This is with the turf field to my back. This is, you'd be looking at where the media center used to stand. Just to the right is the old concession stand. Just see some machines here sorting through metal, in general C&D and concrete, loading trucks out. And this is where the media center once stood, looking back towards area H in the new building. Slabs removed, loading material out. And that's all I have.
And that's where we were a month ago. A little bit of ice, a little bit of snow.
Just one more question on the demolition. We had talked way back when, and the demolition was, it was just a thought at that time, that we weren't sure like how fast it could go based on how many trucks they were allowing, right? Because,
Oh, right, how many
so
trucks?
how is that working out?
So
Because
far, no issues.
no issue, so it's keeping up pace with
Yeah,
what
the
they're
the
taking out?
receivers were a problem last year at this time, and the receivers are not squealing at all.
Okay.
Right now, we have no, where you'll see is you'll end up with trucks that are sitting on property.
Okay.
Because we can't get rid of them, the receiver's not taking them. And at this point, they're taking them as fast as they can shuffle them out.
Great.
Because I remember that discussion.
Yeah, when we did the first one, it took them like 3 weeks to get a truck up there. Now, if you go back there, there's like 3 trucks waiting to get the
Good.
stuff on it.
Because there's a lot more to take out now.
Each kid is taking it home a little.
Yeah,
right.
So in the packet, you have the summary data that generally provides a summary of the situations that we have. We've upped our percentage complete through the middle school to 92%. We've established a progress percentage for the demolition and the H renovation at 7%. Again, that's based on physical activity tasks within the project schedule. It's a calculation derived by the computer program. And the good news is this month, the cost to the CM contingency was much less than it has been in previous. We have now from the 617,000 last month to 586 or 87,000 remaining at this time.
John,
All right. Good evening. As was the case last month, things have been fairly quiet on the test and inspection front. They're more gearing up towards another round of testing and inspection in the middle school, so things have been fairly quiet. We've been tracking, we're up to report number 103, we're tracking 24 items. Several just came off the list as of the visit this week. The majority are in punch list related items that are in the high school, which are getting addressed as contractors are able to get into the high school and rectify them. CES is up to report number 14. They're tracking 2 items that are in the middle school. One is related to some insulation on piping, and the other is just a comment to protect materials, stored materials. There haven't been any special inspection reports, as again, we're not in an area where we're doing special inspections. There haven't been material test reports, no IES reports. There was a chiller test done, and that is the extent of equipment startup and tests since the last time we met. So it's been quiet there. There will be another round of startup tests as they get into the middle school and they start the equipment over there, but that won't be until April, March,
14th.
May.
We've now scheduled for the first air handler on the middle school to start on April 14th and the second on April 15th.
So there'll be another round of startups and testing done over there. Testing and balancing is ongoing. They're still working in the high school.
Yep, we did actually get a report yesterday on the air system. The air system is now at 95% complete. We have a couple of smaller, isolated pieces of equipment that have to be air balanced. The water balancing in the overall systems, in the flow rates that flow through the mechanical room, the boiler room, have all been done. So now it's just a matter of going to each individual classroom and confirming flow rates. The valves that you have in this building that control the water at the endpoint are self-setters. So, they don't need much adjustment, but as a commissioning agent's responsibility, he's gonna go up and he's gonna put a meter on every single one to make sure that every single one is working properly. So we've gotta do that, and then right behind him, we wrap that last valve with insulation, and then we're finally out of the ceilings of your high school. We're looking ahead now at the start of that work in April, starting air handlers, starting balancing. It should be ongoing by May 1st, May 9th at the late, and that flows from the high school project right into the middle school project.
Right. So the balancer's not going to be leaving and then having to remobilize. He's just going to move his way right into the middle school. And then construction waste, it's been slow other than the school, the high school going out, but there were only 90 cubic yards of construction waste removed in February. Next month, it'll show larger numbers.
any
And that's
questions
it.
for John? Thank you, John. Next one is you received the backup for all the next payments, listing all of the contractors and their amounts. So can I have a motion to approve the payment of $1,552,958.38? Have a motion? John? Second?
Second.
Casey? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next one, you're up.
I'm up again? Okay, so our PCO list came up quick on me here. We don't have as many this month, which is a positive, and very few hits to the owner side of the budget. So I'll begin with PCO 510. We had one section of slab that was out in the backside of the building that got scarred by somebody, and we couldn't tell who it was, and unfortunately it had to be removed the hard way with a jackhammer and replaced. We've taken that cost onto the CM contingency. We have a back charge between trades because the ceiling guy put in the identification pins. Every time there's a piece of equipment above the ceiling, a little pin goes into the ceiling tile of a different color that tells facilities what is above the ceiling and where it is. And we just made sense. Next item was a problem again between trades. If you go back before occupancy, we had a problem in the area outside the auditorium where the electrician had a layout bust and then had to pay the ceiling trade contractor to come back and redo his work. PCO 513, this is down in the Winthrop parking area. One of the poles that Eversource placed physically landed about half in, half out of a curb. And so we met with the planning and zoning. They agreed to eliminate one parking stall. We had to fund the trade contractor to build a small island. And you have short of parking stalls now, you'll have a lot of parking stalls later, so planning and zoning had no issue with losing that one stall. The next item, PCO 514, relates to the coordination effort that we put into the last phase of the job. This represents some drywall work to enclose a pipe that wouldn't fit in the as-planned stud dimensions. Next item is a cost between trades, not really a back charge, just a decision made by the abatement contractor to hire the electrical contractor to prepare the service for their use in doing the demolition work. And the electrical contractor preferred to be paid through ONG rather than the sub-trade. We had an $1,800 cost for just a bust-in signage. A lot of signs in your building, and unfortunately in one section of the fourth floor, 6 or 7 of the signs a room got missed, and 6 or 7 signs had to be replaced there. And then some of the rooms, when SLAM developed a final plan of all the room numbers, realized that a couple of them had been duplicated in the effort that was put in several months previous. So that was the $1,800 cost for additional signage. PCO 518, similar situation, coordination in the 2-story section, getting the ductwork and piping out of the building to serve the unit that sits on that building. Needed some drop ceilings, soffits. The next item is PCO 519, and that is a credit to the project. We had 2 allowances remaining going into this last month. One was for the amount of insulation that we needed over the existing gym roof. We didn't know at the time of bid, so I bid the project as a flat roof and carried an allowance of $110,000 to build a tapered roof. There was a slight amount of pitch to the building as existing, so the cost came in a little lower, and a credit of $27,000 goes back to the owner. We had a back charge between trades for some damage that was done on the stage back when that work was happening. There was a data outlet missing. Oh no, this was a conflict area in your high school, in your,
Is that the library?
no, where the kids learn. There was 2 ovens, life skills area, and they wanted to add a third. Evidently it was missed. Well, we put the new receptacle in for the oven and realized that there was a data jack and it was in the same spot. So we had to move the data jack out from behind the oven. So that's a cost of project of $1,041. The next cost is somewhat similar. There's AV boxes that services the smart boards, and unfortunately, the electrical drawings didn't pick up every location, and so a few of the rooms down on the lower level needed to have electricity added, and also AV structure cable added, for a cost of $2,700 to the project. AV enclosure, makerspace core rules, this was two things. So I'm looking at PCO 523 at a cost of $760. We had to take the cord reels out of the makerspace rooms because they didn't want them there while it was a changing room and not as supervised, I guess. And then there was some cleaning associated with that and adding one electrical power outlet. Small cost of the project, a premium time cost of $1,350, and that's for work that was ongoing, both in the CNC room and what we had to add. We had a change order to add some specialty lighting in the dressing rooms and off the auditorium. The premium cost was assigned to the project because they were changes in scope. The fin tube radiators, again, there's some fin tube radiators not there yet, and we had to provide little enclosures, so we provided those. That was again a change to the project to go from the specified units to the units that had closed covers on. So we charged the cost to the project at $1,350. In elevator 4, this is in area H, PCO 526. Specified documents have an 8-inch block wall. The controller for the elevator requires a 10-inch cavity in order for it to fit in the wall. So there's an add cost to add a furred wall in front of the CMU there. Again, we're finding everything we can in area H so that we don't have to wait when it's time to build. PCO 527 was relocating a device that was in conflict in the media center. Fire alarm strobe had to be moved because there was a bookcase that wanted to go in front of it. And when we were walking for the final occupancy requirements of the building, we found that the gym, the corridor that goes out of the gym didn't have an occupancy sensor on the light switch. So somebody leaving the gym in an emergency would have to know to hit the light switch. So he said, that's not good. So we put an occupancy sensor in that space. And then there was a buyout problem in the way that I specified the expansion joints of the project. I did not buy the joints that live or that need to be installed in the drywall ceilings. So I have to buy those post-bid. And so it cost a contingency, no cost to the owner contingency. And then we took upon ourselves to do some detailing around the building just prior to occupancy. There's a cost of $17,000, the biggest hit to our CM contingency, for little details that made a difference. You know, in the bathrooms, we had a small gap between the light cove and the wall. We caulked all those. We put caulking in the floor expansion joints so that dirt and debris didn't collect in those spots. And then just basically said to the caulking subcontractor, trade contractor, we gave him a list of places that we thought we could improve or enhance the look of the building. So we took that upon our CM contingency. That's it.
Can I have a motion to approve the PCOs as discussed? Donna, thank you. Second? Doug, thank you. Appreciate it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay. Next, do you have, as I always try to give you every month, the list of all of the checks and payments that we have since the last one? You can see we're up to $141 million that we've paid. Also in your packet, the other day, was Saturday, right? I was on the computer Saturday and with the state, and we received payment number 17, and I listed, you have it It's listed here. We have, we received $108,000 already from the state of Connecticut. So far, knock on wood, it takes
108
us.
million,
Did you
right?
say 108
Oh,
million?
108 million,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So far, knock on wood, every time payment every 2 months, takes 45 days that we get payment, so that's still within,
It's not typical. I have to
so-
say that the effort put into the front end of this when payments started to get a little choppy.
Yeah.
But
we.
very well.
Yeah.
I've literally never seen this performance by our state in reimbursing
They're,
municipalities.
It's 42 cheesecakes in the state. It's- That truck went up from juniors in Brooklyn to the state, they said, what the hell is this?
Directly, right?
So that's, knock on wood, if you keep the same people in the state, they hopefully will continue with the process, which is, really is unbelievable, because nobody else is around the state is having this, I shouldn't say it now. That's it, no more. Okay, next is payment of invoices. There are 2 invoices for SLAM. One is the regular invoice, and one is the invoice for the fields. So we have one invoice for the regular, which is $30,918.75, and the one for the field, SLAM every week sends us an hourly breakdown of all. He's shy on 1 week of $31,655 for a total of $62,573.75. Could I have a motion to approve those 2 invoices? Doug, thank you. Second? Donna? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next one, B&L, their monthly invoice, $6,814.50. Can I have a motion for that one? Armand?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Second, Ellen? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, I sent you in the packet, we have the second, they're catching up now for what we owe them. So there's 2 invoices for innovative engineering for $12,553.91. Have a motion to approve those 2 invoices. Doug?
Way to go, Doug.
Second?
I'll second.
Second, Armand. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Next one is the Board of Ed paying back their gas bill for $15,345.07. Have a motion to approve that bill. Donna? Second. Case? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay. Next one is 3 invoices from Insilco. They've done, this is for all the work they've done in the auditorium, in the media center and so forth. The 3 invoices come up to $126,118.82. Have a motion to approve that. Doug? Second?
I'll second.
Second, Armand, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay. Next item, I gave you I was at the opening of the bonds and note sale. They opened up the $22,350,000 of bond anticipation notes. We received 6 bidders, that be the lowest bidder was 2.814808 rate, and the city received a $264,000 premium. The next one, it was $15,900,000 of general obligation bonds. They received 15 bids. The rate was 3.267260, and the premium was $1,313,268.49. So again, they received over $1.5 million in premium, which they used to reduce their debt service next year. And we get that's the rate. Just to let you know, and I gave you a list of all of the last 4 rounds, and if you look at the notes, 2.8, that was lower than 2024, 2023. It was higher than 2022, which was at 2.6. The bonds came in favorable at 3.267. So just want to update you on that. Went over that. That's it for me. I have it. So comments for the good of the order. John?
Nothing here, thank you.
Doug?
I had a question. This may be old news. I've heard a couple or 3 times that you aren't supposed to decorate the roofs.
Say that a lot.
They're not allowed to decorate the roofs in the high school. Is that true? And if that's true, is that something that will end?
I have no idea.
Okay, no, I guess the walls couldn't be.
Just can't tape things up.
Tape things on the walls? I didn't know if that was something that was a forever thing, or just because it's a new building, we didn't want to ruin it.
Well, we like to keep it looking new.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So yeah, we said no tape on the walls, we have magnets that, on door frames, and the whiteboards are all magnetized.
Okay,
So for hanging things and things of that nature, but yeah, as far as stringing things along the ceiling or putting tape on the wall, no.
so no tape, no string.
Yeah, nothing hanging, nothing really, again, there's a lot of places to hang things through magnets.
Right, no,
Unfortunately, I tried to get it through the stud wall and the magnets just aren't strong enough to hit the metal studs, but, so.
No, I was just wondering, I'd heard it, but I didn't know if it was true, I didn't know if it was gonna continue, obviously it's a brand new building.
Yeah.
Okay,
Also, there's a certain amount that you can have in a classroom.
Yeah. there's a fire
By
code for
fire
that, too.
regulations.
okay, thank you, I
That's
didn't know
been
that.
that like
Yeah.
since fire codes came out.
Okay, wow.
On anything?
No, thanks.
Yeah, I have a couple things, the electrical panels are marked in the high school building right now, the numbers, they don't line up with the doors. Are they lining up with the blueprint room numbers, or are,
Panel numbers are designated by the contract drawings, not
by the contract documents, not the room numbers that are,
Correct.
okay,
So your as-built will drive your one-line drawing to your panel location and panel designation.
so when I'm at the panel and I'm looking for this room, I'm not gonna find it unless I have the as-bills that show me the cross-reference.
So what you're
Is there
saying
any
is-
way to change that, and in the middle school, before they start marking their panels, to mark them to the true room numbers?
I get you now, so what you're saying is the panel schedule that's within the panel has the construction room numbers, not the permanent room numbers.
Right.
Yeah, they can make those over again.
And the other thing I had was, I know that you're preparing to replace the compressor in that one chiller. Just, can you walk me through, again, is this part of the glycol problem we had up there? Or is this a separate,
This is chiller number 1, not chiller number 2.
okay,
So chiller number 1 came from the factory with a batch compressor. It's never run on your building. It took them from when it was found in June of last year until December to obtain a replacement compressor. And now we've just been waiting for an opportunity to get up on the roof and replace it. And so next week on a short day of school, we're coordinating with Dean on bringing a crane, because this compressor weighs about 1,700 pounds. And we'll need to actually have a crane pick that up, take the old one off, put the new one on the roof, and the vendors, reinstall.
how many compressors in that chiller? I don't wanna quiz you on this,
I
but,
don't know.
and we know for a fact the other compressors are up and running, this one particular compressor, because the
Right.
chiller's running, correct?
No, that particular chiller has never run.
Has never run because of the compressor, so it might
Because
be.
the compressor's
Okay,
bad. Right, it was discovered at startup.
okay. Okay. Those are two things I had.
Mike? Casey?
I'm good.
Donna?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, all set.
All set.
Dr. Sasso?
All set.
All set.
I took all your thunder.
Okay.
Slam's been doing a great job on bringing these documents forward, and working with us on trying to, refine maybe some aspects of it. And other than that, I think I've said my piece today.
Yeah, just so you know, with all this, we've had, there's 2 pages of, I document every email that goes between SLAM, us, the team, ONG, and it's 2 pages already that, so what's happening is people are working on the job to get it done, so get the pricing in there. So, Mike, anything?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you.
Good, I only have one thing. At a future meeting, could we look at, as we're getting nearer to the end of the project, I think we've been tallying up what change orders were made due to errors.
Yeah.
Can
We get that, John gives that on a, every time we put a change order to the state, we have that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful for all of
Yeah.
us to look at that, just as we're nearing the end of the
Yeah,
project.
it's about 35 pages that we have. And it's, John does it every time a change order.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
So I've heard some rumors also that there's holes all over the place in the new high school and there's water leaking and it's atrocious. So I just wanted, on the record, can you verify that that is not the case?
I am only aware of one. We had a roof leak. We had the one that I spoke to a month ago. Since that time, there was one additional roof membrane seam failure, and now that's it.
Also in the auditorium or another place?
Nope, this was in the middle of the high school. Actually, Mike put his hands on that.
It was,
Can tell you
right
exactly
between the
what it
Board
was.
of Ed space and the academic space, the last classroom, on the courtyard side.
So if you're moving, if you're standing on the section of the building closest to the pond, it's in that general area. The amount of water was enough to stain a ceiling tile, but not drip.
Thank you.
Other than that, we did have one intrusion when we had a really bad rain event. Wind-driven rain came underneath one of the storefront windows on the Board of Ed entrance. So where we have that sidewalk that goes to the back door to the Board of Ed. We had it once before you moved in. We thought we fixed it, and then it didn't leak again until about 2 weeks ago when it leaked again. So we had to
What was the
redo
cause of that?
sealant. We think that the pan has a negative pitch underneath the storefront itself. And so it's either gotta fix with a, with more sealant, a better sealant job.
So it was puddling there, you're saying? And then kind of
Just both of those were driving rain events on that side of the building.
Right.
In combination with being said.
But nothing that impacted any of the students' rooms or the cafeteria or,
Correct. There was nothing that has taken students out of classrooms that I'm aware of.
thank you.
Couple questions. Summary data, this is the all ONG summary
Yes,
data, correct?
Yep.
So allowance funds and contingency funds, that's your contingency, what's allowance?
So at the beginning of the project, I think we had 5, possibly 6 allowances between ourselves and the owner here.
Okay,
The first one was we had to buy out the general trades package prior to contract award. Carried a value of about $7 million for that package.
okay,
One was the auditorium acoustical panels. That one was only resolved about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
That cost more than I had set aside. The last one, the one remaining, is what is known as a BDA or bidirectional antenna. We have an allowance set aside $100,000 to buy equipment and install in the building.
Okay.
You don't know what equipment you'll need until the full complement of the structure is up.
so my
We had the fire
question,
department come out.
okay, so owner contingency is not on there.
Correct.
So, and the total project is what, 178 million?
185 million with the,
Not excluding the fields at this point.
185.
Yeah, 180.
185 with the fields.
So excluding the fields, 178.
No,
No,
Yeah.
185.
no, 185 before the fields.
Before the
No,
fields,
no,
was
no.
185.
No, it wasn't 185 before the fields, no.
I think it was 178
Oh,
before the fields.
179. That's right.
178, 179.
179, 575.
I'm just wondering, because all we see here is potential 167 million. And the project's 178, 179 million, so where can we see the difference of that?
In other words, the owner contingency and soft costs are not included. This is a recap of O&G's.
Correct, so my question is directed towards that, so where's,
Yeah, we can, anytime, we'll have next,
yeah, I mean, that's the overall project, I wanna
Yeah.
see where we're at.
overall project.
And we know that we can't put the fields on there yet, cause your guys are
Well,
still,
we put the fields on my budget because we're paying, out of it already because of the SLAM's bill. So that's gonna be covered with the state paying 85% of that bill.
okay, just an overall
Yeah,
budget for the entire project, 'cause all
and
we
we'll
have
give
is
you the overall
the,
budget plus
all we have is O&G's numbers,
Yeah.
we don't have the overall
overall
project.
budget plus all of the encumbrances that I have going forward. I do that every month. We sit down with O&G.
Right, I provide worst-case scenarios of what I'm aware of that could
Sure.
cause these potentials. But just to make sure you're aware, so if you read under the construction cost, under the second line down, it says potential.
Yep.
Those in previous months have varied between $1.5 million and $500,000. Now it's at $6 million, because we did encumber the budgetary values that I provided as a rough order of magnitude.
Does that match
As a
your AIA
construction
document that's in here then? Does that follow that then?
The AIA, so when you look to the approved contract changes, the 2.4 million or 2.610,
Yeah.
which is the third row down. Once a PCO
Yep.
gets converted or goes through this motion, we generate an AIA document.
Yep.
We do that monthly, so we're at about number 24. And then that reflects in the cost report that drives the $2.64 million number.
Thanks. Go ahead, thanks, Ed.
Anything else? Okay, have a motion to adjourn, oh, forgot, don't forget, April 3rd, the only item on the agenda will be the turf field project.
That's April 3rd.
What time is that?
Same time, 5 o'clock.
We'll be here, Ed.
What? Yeah, oh yeah, it'll be here, yeah. You'll get a reminder like I always do, a week in advance, I send a reminder out, to everybody. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
AC, second? Second, John, thank you. Okay. Watch out for the snow tomorrow.
Oh, God.